active indexing, some portfolio stuff that he does, and it's long. It's 8 pages long, but it's a fantastic article that I would encourage you to read. What I think the reader was asking me to comment on was John's idea of defensive action, and it looks like this is for people that need to stay invested. He talks about something that looks like it's called the defense portfolio, total equity defensive portfolio, which is comprised of 60% DVY. I'll just use the ETFs that capture this. DVY, which is the iShares dividend, and so 60% there, and 40% in OEF, which captures the S&P 100, which is the largest 100 out of the S&P 500. And then he's got another thing in here. Actually, let me backtrack. The trigger point for John for implementing this is when the 50-day moving average goes below the 200-day moving average. I talk about, when the market goes below its 200 days, so this is a slightly different variation on what I would say is a similar theme. John is a smart guy. He's probably smarter than I am. He probably knows more than I do and understands more than I do. So, that being said, where this is coming from, I plugged in or tried to plug in this into portfolio science to just get some ideas of standard deviation and correlation, because intuitively it doesn't seem like, although you're ratcheting it down some, it doesn't seem like it's offering a tremendous amount of protection. For a 1-year time period, DVY has a standard deviation, according to Portfolio Science, of 8.72 versus SPY, which is 9.44. So noticeable, not dramatic. The correlation of the two is 0.88 over a year. You can decide for yourself whether that's a lot or a little. Funny enough, it didn't recognize OEF for a ticker symbol, but the overlap, it's going to be tighter than DVY is, to be sure, since it's got 100 names in common. But so it wouldn't seem to me that this would offer a tremendous amount of defense in a down a lot period, but maybe it does. The reader wants to know, in the interest of him managing his portfolio, how to apply this to him. He likes the idea of keep it simple. He's not sure if this does that or not. Well, the bigger picture from top down, which is how I lean, is, okay, whatever it is you rely on to tell you to start to get defensive, that you are faithful to it and you do something that is getting defensive. That's the most important thing. I don't know if John's is the best way to do it. Yours might be better. Mine might be better. John's may be the best. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it offers a lot of protection. The bigger thing is that you're reducing exposure when your exit strategy, your defined exit strategy, goes into effect or goes into action or triggers or what have you. That's kind of the most important thing. And strategically what he's doing is he's tilting more toward dividends and he's going larger cap. So whether you use those ETFs or some other method, that idea is really not that difficult. That is probably within your wheelhouse to do. At least I would think that it is. Further on in the article, if you look in the last couple of pages in the appendices, John lays out all of the different products he's using, and he uses a wide range of funds, which I think is a great idea, something I've encouraged, forever, or at least since the blogs existed anyway. He uses ETFs, closed-end funds, open-ended funds, on and on and on. I think the one thing that's missing would be some common stocks. The impression I get is he doesn't use common stocks, or individual stocks, obviously, but maybe he does, but there are none listed. So great article. Definitely read the article. I think you will learn something from it. Next up, a reader left a comment that makes it seem like the long-awaited Deutsche Bank dollar index ETFs are out. I don't know if they're out. I haven't looked, but there will be one for dollar up, will be one for dollar down. I'm not really a fan of using the dollar index. The reason for that, it's heavily tilted toward the euro, which I believe is 57%, and the yen, which I think is around 13%. Either way, I have, essentially no interest in those investment destinations. The euro is obviously France and Germany most heavily. A couple of clients have a couple of French names. No one has Germany. No one has Japan. I'm more interested for currency exposure to commodity currencies. Few people own Australia, as do I. The Swedish krona is almost an across-the-board holding for clients, and I also own that one as well. For me, that is, I'm more interested in those countries as investment destinations because I think they offer better diversification. So again, thinking top-down, it stands to reason that if, whether I'm right or not, if I think that those other places offer better diversification, stock-wise, I would feel the same way currency-wise. And if you are interested in those places, I would think you would just want to use, for currency exposure, FXE or FXY as opposed to dollar up, dollar down. But that is your call. It's a matter of preference. Last issue here would be on potential tax issue came up. A reader asking a question about not all dividends from ETFs being qualified. And then another reader shortly thereafter left a comment saying that it is not a tax issue, it's more of an accounting issue. I had trouble when the first comment was left getting my hands around it because I had not heard of this issue before. I left a very vague and useless comment in reply, but it is not something that I had heard of, which surprised me, and I had trouble. We went out for a hike when the market closed on Friday right before I did this video, and I just couldn't get, we were hiking, I couldn't wrap my hands around the idea. Turns out it's probably not a tax issue, according to another reader, and this makes more sense to me, which is why I'm kind of leaning the way I am in this comment, that as an ETF gets bigger, if it needs to buy new shares of General Electric, just to pick a name out of the air, well, not all of the dividend is necessarily qualified, and so it becomes a real nuisance for the exchange-traded fund to keep track of that, but that is what they're doing, and that's what you're seeing probably on your 1099. I think we need to devote a little more time to kind of ferreting this out. So I'm going to ask you to look at your 1099, maybe leave a comment, nothing specific obviously, but just, of the ETFs you have, if you can glean what portion is qualified and what's not. If it's, 10 or 15 not qualified, then this is probably not an issue. I can't really use my 1099. I only own one ETF, which is one of the currency ones in my taxable account. The rest are individual stocks. So hopefully you can leave some sort of comment on this, and we can explore this a little further. Have a good weekend. Enjoy all the sports.